Welcome to food costing, and we are going to do our presentation like this today. Students tend to have a little bit of difficulty with food costing, so we're going to try to simplify it for you to make this part easier. Some people are intimidated by this because it does have some math, but we'll give you some ways to do that if you follow this method every single time you're doing food costing, you will get the right answers. Okay? So to start with, we have some vocab words that you need to know. The first one is as purchased price. This is the condition or cost of an item as it is purchased from the supplier. So when we buy tomatoes, we buy them in a case of 6 and it's the great big number 10 cans. So that is our as purchased price. Unit cost is how much one of those cans cost. So not all 6 together, but just one. And the recipe cost is how much it costs to make the recipe. Okay, so as a review, a case of these, which is 6 cans, is our as purchased price. 1 can is our unit cost. And then however much it costs to, let's say, take 2 cups out of this can. Let's say our recipe costs for 2 cans of pasta sauce or tomato sauce. However much that 2 cups cost is our recipe cost, because that's how much we put into the recipe. Okay? Okay, it's not liking me. Okay, we're back and we're on friendly terms with this board. All right, some more, we went over those 3 words. Now, some more. Cost per portion. So we make our sauce, and let's say we need 2 cups of this, and that makes enough for 3 people. Well, the cost per portion is how much we would take that recipe cost and divide it by 3 if we were serving 3 people in lab. So the cost per portion is kind of like the cost per person, how much each portion is going to cost. Okay, your formula. AP stands for as purchased price, divided by the number of units is the cost per unit. So just to give you an example, if a case costs $12 and there are 6 cans in a case, 12 divided by 6 is $2. That means this can costs $2. Okay? Let's say we used 1/4 of the can. That means we're using, total recipe cost is 50 cents, because $2 divided by 4 is 50 cents. Divided by the number of portions is just me and my lab partner, that's 2 people. That means the cost per portion would be 25 cents of this ingredient only. You need to do that for every ingredient in the recipe. Now the reason we do this is if you are running a restaurant and you decide to charge $4 for your pasta, and your pasta comes with garlic bread, a salad, you need to find out, are you even making money on this? You might be selling it for $4 and it's costing your restaurant $5.50. Well, then you're losing $1.50 for every customer who buys that. And you need to increase your cost dramatically if that dish is costing $4. It probably should be closer to 10 or 12. Okay? So every restaurant manager has to cost out every recipe to determine his sale price so that he's covering all of his expenses and making a profit. So now we're going to apply these formulas. A case of number 10 cans costs $46.59. So that means a can of this tomato sauce is $46.59. How much would each can cost? Okay? So, first decide on what you're trying to calculate. You are looking for the per unit can. AP cost $46.59 for the whole case. Inside the case are 6 cans. $46.59 divided by 6 is $7.77. You would round up there. So $7.77 for each can of tomato sauce. So this can cost us $7.77. Now, if you're using the tomato sauce in a recipe, we need to find out how much the recipe is using out of this can. So right now, we're saying that the marinara sauce that you guys are making in class takes 1 cup of tomato sauce. Because remember, in class, we're only making enough for 2 people. All right? You've calculated the cost of this can as $7.77. And there are 13 cups inside this can. All right? So this is where I'll show you the $7.77 divided by 13 cups is 59 or 60 cents. So we know that 1 cup of tomato sauce is 60 cents. All right? Now, a different way to set this up. I'm going to start this and you'll see this flow through the entire PowerPoint. All right, so I'm going to minimize this for a second. Okay. I'm going to show you the algebra on this. Now, some of you, your mind is geared toward this, so you're going, we don't need to do this. That's great. Stick with what works. But some of us are not, math-dominant brains, and it just doesn't work that way. So I want to show you a way to start setting up these problems. This one is rather simplistic, but they will get more complicated. We know that a can costs $7.77, and that is for 13 cups. Okay? Now, what we want, we're going to set up a cross multiplication. What we want to know is how much it cost for 1 cup. Okay? Now, this will always work. What you need to make sure of is that everything matches. We have money to money, cup to cup. Always. It doesn't matter if they're upside down. If you go cup to cup and money to money, nobody cares as long as they match. So money to money, cup to cup. All right, so now all you do is cross multiply. And you get 777 equals 13x. Divide both sides by 13. And this is how you learned it in your Algebra 1 class. And x equals, I believe the answer was 60 cents. Okay? All right. Okay. If you want to further reduce the amount, let's say you're making a bomber sandwich or something that requires some marinara to be spread on the bread, you would need to find out what 1 tablespoon of marinara costs versus an entire cup. So first thing you have to think about is, what do I know? I know that 1 cup has 16 tablespoons, and I know that 1 cup costs 60 cents. So we're going to set up the problem, and I'm going to do this in 2 steps to show you what happens so that you can kind of correct yourself. We know that 1 cup costs 60 cents, and we want to know how much 1 tablespoon costs, and this is our x. Now, we want to know how much 1 tablespoon costs, and we have the price here, 60 cents. Perfect. But we have cup and tablespoon. It no longer matches. So this problem will not give you a correct answer. So what do we know? If we come back over here, we know that 1 cup equals 16 tablespoons. So now we can change this, and we'll just draw an arrow, and we'll put 16 tablespoons equals 60 cents, and it's kind of hard to read that capital T. And now we have our 1 tablespoon over x. Now you can cross multiply. All right, and you get 11 times 60, which of course is going to test my math here real quick. Okay, so what we get here is we get 660, there's our 660 here, equals 16x. And this is writing weird, I'm not this uncoordinated. And then you divide both sides by 16, and you get x equals 0.04. So, 1 tablespoon of tomato sauce costs 4 cents. Okay. All right, now to calculate your total recipe cost, you have to cost out every single ingredient there is. You may need to refer to your kitchen equivalents if you can't remember all of them, which is now it's really testing how well you remember all of those. 3 teaspoons to a tablespoon, 16 tablespoons to a cup. After every ingredient's been calculated, you add it up, and that gives you your total recipe cost. But as a restaurant owner, you still need to figure out portion cost, because that's what you're selling. When a customer comes in, you don't sell them a batch of French toast, you sell them a serving of French toast. So we are going to do a problem here. This is explaining that you now need to do portion, and that after you do that, you determine your menu price to allow for all of your labor costs, your electricity, those type of costs, overhead, and then your profit. All right, we are going to do apple French toast. I'm going to give you some time to do this on your own, and then we're going to do it together. You're not being graded on this, it's just to get you started in this, and then I will show you how to do all of that math. We sell apple French toast at Giavicino, and this recipe here makes 12 servings. So what you're going to do is you're going to refer to your ingredient list that you have, and you're going to compute the cost of all of these ingredients, and then we will be back to check your. Okay, the first ingredient that you needed to look up was brown sugar. And our recipe tells us that 1 cup of brown sugar is 50 cents. Now, since the recipe calls for 1 cup, there's no need to do any math. All right, it's just 1 cup of brown sugar is 50 cents. You need 50 cents, so there we go. So I'm going to start writing these numbers over here to keep track. Our board is not aligned very well, so it's making it tough. Now I'm black, all right. All right, our board is not aligned very well, so I'm writing, but it's not going where I think it should be. Next is a 1/2 cup of butter. And our recipe tells us that it is, or our price sheet, 1 tablespoon equals 0.09. All right, so now we're going to do some math here because we need a 1/2 cup. All right, so if we write 1/2 cup, okay, over X, this is how much, this is money. Okay, we need to know how much a 1/2 cup costs, equals 1 tablespoon over 0.09. We have cup to tablespoon, so that should tell you we have a problem, but we have money to money, so that's good. So what can we change here? Well, if you remember, there are 16 tablespoons in a cup, which means a 1/2 cup is 8 tablespoons. So we're going to adjust that and put 8 tablespoons, and we need to know how much that cost, equals 1 tablespoon over 0.09. We're going to cross multiply, and you get 8 times 9 cents, which is 72 cents, equals 1x. So divide both sides by 1, and you get the same thing. 72 cents equals x. So the price of our butter is 72 cents. So I will add that to the list over here. And you can see I'm doing a real good job of making a row there. All right, so I'm going to erase some of this to give us some more room. Okay, we are back. We are having issues with the board because it's not properly aligned with the projection unit. So we've moved our list over here since this side of the board seems to like the projection unit better than the other. So right now we've got our brown sugar at 50 cents and we have our butter at 72. So now we need 3 teaspoons of cinnamon. All right? Now the recipe says that cinnamon is $1.26 for 4 tablespoons. Okay, so this is money. And we need to know how much it cost for 1 teaspoon. Oops, I believe it's 3 teaspoons. Yeah, we're just going to write over this, 3 teaspoons. So you could see we have money to money, so that's all going well. But we have tablespoons to teaspoons, and they're not related. They are, but they're not the same. So we need to fix this. So we're going to come on down. Now, if you remember, there are 3 teaspoons in a tablespoon. Okay? So we have $1.26 for 12 teaspoons. All right? Because there's 4 tablespoons. 4 times 3 is 12. So we would change that. Or, you know, there is an easier way to do this, and I'm going to go like this and leave it as 4 tablespoons. This will be easier. Equals, how much does it cost? There are 3 teaspoons in 1 tablespoon. So this is 1 tablespoon. All right? All right. So now you cross multiply. All right? So we have 4t equals $1.26 times 11. Whoops, this should be 4tx equals $1.26 times 11. And then your answer comes out to 32 cents. X equals 32 cents. All right, so that is your price for cinnamon. So we will add that to our list over here. And then we will move on to the next ingredient. All right. Our next ingredient is apples. And we know that each apple is 60 cents. So 1 apple equals 60 cents. How much do 3 apples cost? Well, if you want to, you can set up a whole conversion, which would be 1 apple is 60 cents. How much do 3 apples cost? For most of you, you could figure this out without going through this process, but just in case, you cross multiply and you get x equals $1.80. Okay, so we're going to add $1.80 to our list of prices over here and move on. And of course, we went back. The next item we need is French bread. So our French bread is $1.99 a loaf. All right, we need 1 loaf of French bread, so no math. Everybody's having a party here. Okay, the next ingredient is 7 eggs. So we know that each egg is 10 cents. So some of you can go, well, 7 times 10 is 70 cents. Great, it's good if your brain works like that. Add your 70 cents to the list. If your brain doesn't work like that and you need to set up your conversion, then you can go ahead and do that. And you know that 1 egg costs 10 cents. How much does 7 eggs, whoops, that should not be, all right, I'll just use that as my 7. 7 eggs over x. All right, so we have egg to egg, money to money. Life is good. Cross multiply, and you get 0.7 equals x. All right, so we can add 70 cents to our list over here. All right, our next ingredient is milk. All right, our next ingredient is milk. We need 1½ cups of milk. Milk costs 25 cents a cup. Okay, we need 1½ cups. So we have 0.25 over C, because it's 25 cents a cup, equals X, meaning how much is it going to cost for 1½ You could also write 1.5. Okay, with all of the graphing calculators, most of you can put in either, or you can put in the decimal. So now we're good. We're money to money, cups to cups. And I forgot to write in my C, but it is 1½ cups. So we're all aligned. This is like a comedy of errors here. Well, anyway, now you cross multiply. All right, so you get x times 1 is x equals, and your when you multiply this out, 0.25 times 1.5. Your answer is going to be, I believe, 38 cents. Yep. All right, so you add 38 cents to your list. All right, and I believe we only have one more. I'm really beginning to think this board doesn't like me. Never use these boards if they're not aligned. Okay, the last ingredient is vanilla, and we know that vanilla costs 5 cents a teaspoon, and we need 1 tablespoon. All right? So 0.05 is how much it costs for 1 teaspoon. How much does it cost, so that's our x, for 1 tablespoon? So hopefully some of you see the discrepancy. Money to money, good to go. Teaspoon to tablespoon is a mistake. So we need to convert this. And we know that there are 3 teaspoons in a tablespoon. So we rewrite that as 0.05 is to 1 teaspoon. As x, we're wanting to know cost there, is to 3 teaspoons. So now we're money to money, teaspoon to teaspoon. Cross multiply. You get 1x equals 0.15. So x equals 15. All right, so we'll add 15 to our list over here. All right, now, these are all of our ingredient prices. So to get the recipe cost, it was red, we're going to add all these up. And that'll be how much every ingredient cost. And when you add these up, you get $6.46. All right, now I'm going to give us a little bit of room over here. I'm afraid to touch anything. All right. 646 is our total recipe. Okay, that's the total recipe cost. Now, we know from the previous slide that there are 12 servings. So 646 divided by 12 servings will give us cost, money, per serving. And the answer to that is 54 cents. Okay, per serving. Now, if you're let's say you're at Denny's and you can sell apple French toast for 54 cents a serving, people are expecting to go there and spend $5 or $6 on a full meal. Now, if this apple French toast comes with hash browns, you need to get hash browns into this list. But if you're going to sell this a la carte, meaning just apple French toast, you might need to add in butter and maple syrup. But other than that, if you're charging $4 or $5 for this, that's going to give you a really nice profit margin as well as cover your expenses that you needed to make it. You've got labor, you have electricity, rent, water, garbage, electricity, all those type of things. All right?